I've been using the new M4 iPad Pro for about 2 weeks now, and during that time, I was thinking about what video I should create. I could compare it to a laptop, but the iPad was never meant to replace it. It was just supposed to be far better at some key things. So in this video, I'll talk about what's new and why the iPad is a pro device. But first, the unboxing. Okay, the box is pretty standard like the previous iPads. You get a picture of the iPad on the top, and removing the cover reveals the iPad itself. But let's set that off to the side for now. Underneath, we have some paperwork and no Apple stickers. It makes me kinda sad even though I barely use them. Apple's been reducing their impact on the environment, so less plastic. I'm guessing this trend will appear in other products down the line. Next, we have a white 20-watt power adapter. I wish this was faster and color matched, but you know what is? The braided USB-C cable. Space black models have a black cable, while silver models have a white one. And that's all we get in the box. An Apple polishing cloth is included if you went with the nano texture glass option, but you can always order one separately for $20. If you're interested in the new iPad Pro, I'll leave a link in the description box below. Alright, the overall design hasn't changed much since 2018. It's still the same boxy squared off design, but more refined. I'll add the dimensions on the screen. The enclosure is now made with 100% recycled aluminum, and the camera housing also switched to aluminum instead of glass. The ultra-wide camera is gone, but does anyone take pictures with an iPad? I like this design, so I don't mind that it looks the same. But there are two things that stood out to me: the weight and thinness. The 11-inch iPad Pro weighs about 440 grams, and it feels like you're holding a thin sheet of glass. I actually notice a difference when I'm holding it for a long period of time. The weight reduction is nice and all, but just look at how thin it is. The 11-inch model is only 5.3mm thin, and it's the thinnest product I've ever owned. I created a short comparing it to other items, and it's thinner than the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the original iPod Nano, and even the Samsung T7 SSD. Also, thinner body, smaller speakers, less space. Audio is still good, but not as punchy as before. The weight is nice and even, and you can still balance it on one finger. And fun fact, the iPad Pro is now thinner and lighter than the iPad Air. I didn't get to the rest of the hardware yet, but I guess fitting the best tech in a thin and light design is a pro feature. I don't know anyone who wanted a thinner iPad, but most people would have liked maybe a thicker iPad with longer battery life. So the biggest new change to the iPad Pro is that OLED display, and this is the first time Apple's bringing it to the iPad lineup. If you see my previous videos, you know I love OLED, but if I'm being completely honest with you, I wasn't blown away like when the iPhone X had OLED or when Nintendo brought it to the Switch. It's either I'm used to seeing OLED screens, or the panels that Apple's been using are that good. Colors are more vibrant, blacks are pitch black, and there's no blooming like on the mini LED displays. The screen gets plenty bright, especially with HDR content, and viewing the iPad Pro outside shouldn't be an issue. I'll have a separate video comparing this to the 2018 model, so be sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for that. One downside that I've noticed is the amount of grain on darker backgrounds. It's hard to show it on camera, but you can see it on gray colors or when the screen is dim. It's not a deal breaker though, since you need to be really close to the iPad to see it. This is probably due to Apple using two suppliers, Samsung and LG, for their panels. Having an OLED display is a pro feature for now, since tandem OLED technology is pretty advanced, but Apple may add it to the iPad Air or iPad mini in the future. So if you work with a lot of pictures or videos, and even illustration, you'll love seeing the rich colors and true blacks. The iPad Pro is powered by the new M4 chip. I thought this was weird because M-series chips usually debut in the Mac first. But then I remembered WWDC is less than 2 weeks away, and the M4 was made for the upcoming AI features. We'll have to wait and see, but for now, this chip is overkill for normal iPad activities. Apps open quickly, animations are super smooth, even games run with no issues. I ran some benchmarks on this iPad Pro, as well as my old one and MacBook Pro, and here are the numbers. The M4 is fast, and battery life is still the same legendary 10 hours, thanks to the efficiency of M4. Professionals who edit a lot of videos or do 3D rendering might benefit from the new chip, but at this point, you might as well use a real computer. I do have to admit that using Final Cut Pro on an iPad is more fun. Scrolling through the timeline with my finger and using the jog wheel is a whole new experience. Most people won't use the full power that the M4 chip has to offer, but considering they hang onto their iPads a lot longer than other products, will come in handy down the road. Apple also updated the two accessories that work great with the iPad Pro, the Apple Pencil Pro and Magic Keyboard. The Apple Pencil receives some nice features, but it still doesn't come in matte black. There's a new squeeze gesture along the bottom half of the pencil. This basically acts as a shortcut so you can switch between different writing utensils, colors, or settings. And whenever you squeeze it, you'll feel some nice haptic feedback, thanks to the haptic engine on the inside. This will also work when using those quick action shortcuts. Apple also added a gyroscope for a new feature, barrel roll. Like on a regular highlighter, you can rotate it for a different thickness. And now you can do the same thing on the Apple Pencil Pro. Squeezing and rolling the pencil are cool and all, but the craziest feature to me is that fake shadow. Depending on the tool you're using and the height it's at, you'll see a shadow in real time. And it even adapts to the angle and rotation. The $130 Apple Pencil Pro only works with the new 2024 iPad Pro and iPad Air because of the new magnet arrangement. Apple had to redesign it because of the landscape camera. You can now add the pencil in the Find My app, but I find it to be a little weird. You can only track it when the iPad is in portrait mode, and there's no precise location or sound. Each box now comes in one of 5 designs, which is quite different from the usual plain white box. The Magic Keyboard can elevate the iPad experience. It won't replace your laptop, but it will make typing a lot easier. It has the same floating design, but with some refinements. The aluminum hinge is now exposed, since it's no longer wrapped in that silicone material. It's also a bit shorter with a flat oval shape. When the iPad is on, the first hinge now stops at a 90-degree angle, but you can still adjust the second hinge like before. The USB-C port also supports up to a faster 40 watts of pass-through charging, compared to around 20 watts for the previous version. The inside of the Magic Keyboard is made with an aluminum finish, giving it that MacBook-like feeling. The keys feel the same, but Apple added a function row. So you get a dedicated escape key, brightness, volume. It's just like a Mac. There's a larger glass trackpad with haptic feedback, which is also just like a Mac. The new Magic Keyboard only works with the M4 iPad Pro and is priced at the same $300 for the 11-inch and $350 for the 13-inch. The M4 iPad Pro is not for everyone. If you need accurate colors and high performance in a thin and light design, then you won't be disappointed. But if you do normal iPad things like browsing the web, watching videos, and playing games, then the iPad Air is a better option, which now comes in a new 13-inch size. Did you get the new iPad Pro? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you'll be notified when I post new videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!